anybody who misses it can catch up. And it is our last session, which is a bit sad. I've been enjoying this group, lots of interaction on the chat and lots of really good assignments and things coming in. And I should introduce Kathy. This is Kathy Decoris, who is the training manager at Safe System Solutions. So the person coordinating everything behind the scenes and making sure all the packs are organised and registrations and all of that. So thanks, Kathy, for your work. And I'm sure a number of the people have had interactions with you already. But Kathy will be behind the scenes today, moderating, managing the chat, feeding me questions, and also at the end, we'll just tell you how to wrap everything up and show you in Moodle the final steps to finish your road safety audit course, get your certificate, get yourself registered and everything like that. So thank you, Kathy. And yeah, so it is only scheduled for an hour and a half today, and giving you a bit of time there at the end to really progress that final road safety audit assignment you're doing. Finish off any quizzes, get yourself sorted out. There's a couple of things that I want to, or there's a little bit of content to cover. I've got a good allocation of time also for questions about your road safety audit you're doing. And I want to provide some feedback on the desktop or 360-degree audit mock exercise you did. And well done for everybody for having a go at that. There were some common things that people weren't quite getting right that I want to cover. Everybody did pretty well finding issues, but just the way a few things need to be clarified in order for your actual audit to go through without any worries. So I'm going to touch on that as well. But in a minute, I will be asking if you have any questions, and we'll give you the opportunity either to raise your hand, which will then find you and give you the ability to unmute yourself, and you can just talk and ask your question, or you can type in your question if you want clarification on that. The first thing I thought we might do is just a little bit of a recap, a little bit of you thinking about the course content that we've run through over the last 4 online modules and on the audit you've been doing, the assignments and things like that. So what I'm going to get you to do is just spend a minute thinking back through what we've covered, and I want you to think of just one thing that you learnt or found very interesting, or was really stuck with you or resonated with you, or something that, you know, maybe when you're out and about driving or walking around the road network, you keep seeing now and you can't stop seeing it, or maybe something that you're still a little bit unclear about or don't quite, not quite convinced on, or something like that. Just one key sort of takeaway message from the course, and then I want you to type that into the chat. Now I sort of flicked through and randomly picked out six things. And if you match one of the random 6 things I put down, it's not like I picked the 6 most important takeaways, but if you picked one of same as one of these random 6 that I picked, you can have a prize as well. So I'll give you a minute just to have a think about that, and then we'll have a look what comes in the chat. Okay. I've been reading these as they come in and just absolutely loving this summary of the course. The fact that people seem to be really picking up really important points of road safety auditing. Yeah, absolutely loving it. Now, Kathy, this might be a little challenge for you to work out who's going to get prizes here. And maybe I'll put up the 6 that I just popped in, and then we'll read through and we'll see who's getting prizes. Okay, here we go. Random 6, as I say, not like they're the most important 6, but 6. Road safety audit is proactive, black spot is reactive, dynamic visual obstruction or masking, bicycle friendly grates, pedestrian desire lines, sharrows, severity of injury and safe system tolerances and energy and the like. So let's have a look through. Here we go. So we had people talking about putting the different hats on while road safety auditing. That's really important, that thinking like different road users. Use of safe system energy. So Rick's there. Rick can have a prize on that one. Not a check against standards. That's very important. The process, the 8 steps to follow, great one there. Difference between road safety audit and DDA compliance. Visual deception or visual deceit. There's a good one from Ryan. That's a really important one. Safe system energies from somebody there. It's a username. So Kathy, you'll work out who that is. Prize there. Consider all road users, pedestrians and others when looking at design. Think like a cyclist, even ride the path, really good stuff. Vulnerability of motorcyclists to different collisions. Importance of surface for motorcyclists. Visual deceit and nighttime audits, not standard. Safe system energies, David gets one there. Think like a driver, pedestrian, motorcyclist. Yes, and just being that human and how humans are going to use the road. Audit should be done in teams, another good one. The fact that auditors are problem finders and not necessarily solving the problems, maybe providing a bit of guidance on how it could be solved. But yes, the key is to find those problems. And pedestrian facilities. So it always makes me very happy to see such wonderful key points coming out of the course there. So that's excellent. So Kathy, I hope you took out a few of those prizes.
Yep, absolutely. I gave some as well too, some bonus ones.
Giving out extra prizes. I love it.
That's right.
And speaking of which, I did say, we're on a big prize giving spree here. I did say that there were a few assignments that I thought we should have given some prizes to. I mean, there were so many great research assignments in there, and I hope we've uploaded those to Moodle now so others can have a look at different things. But I've got a few more just to give out. So Braden and Jason are going to get prizes. So they both went down the track of a newspaper article and both did it slightly differently, but both very good. And I thought that was a really nice way to capture things, well written up and presented. So those two. We've got Ellie for the podcast on motorcycle audits, which was excellent, quite entertaining, really enjoyed it, well put together, and really high quality. So prize there. And Harry for his barriers and curbs video. So again, another one really well put together, edited, great visuals and great content. And yeah, as I say, so many wonderful assignments. Amazing how many people got really high marks on the assignment. So it made me very happy, and it's good. Yeah, just a bit of fun to have a look through them if they're uploaded now or when they're uploaded.
Yeah, they're there now, Ken. So yeah, you can jump into Moodle and have a look at everyone else's, especially some of those prize-winning ones. And it sounds like doing training in December pays off because you're in a very festive and giving mood. Ken, you should have worn your Santa hat.
Thank you, Kathy. Okay, so as I mentioned, have a think about any questions you've got around completing your road safety audit and trying to make sure we push that through and get the highest mark possible. I'm just going to jump to a blank slide so I can do a little bit of drawing and just gave feedback to all of the people who had submitted their 360-degree Montrose roundabout to traffic signals. The one that was about how you word findings and the like, and yeah, generally really good, but just a few points I want to bring up. So the first one, and most everybody had this right, but I'll just reiterate this: if you're given a design, you are undertaking the road safety audit on the design. You have to imagine it's built. So they've ripped in that assignment, they've ripped out the roundabout. They've built a set of traffic signals exactly as the design states, and then you're imagining that all built and the crashes that could happen as a result. I think most of you had your head around that, which was good. The use of that formula or recipe was generally pretty good. Some people were very clear and they even sort of colored it out to help them in their mind. You wouldn't do that in a real full audit. I mean, it's just it's to guide you, but I was very happy to see that because I knew that people had done, what the issue was. They specified clearly the crash. They'd put in there any factors that increased the risk and referred to standards and guidelines if appropriate. And they'd put a snip in and annotated the snip with some really clear information. So it was very clear and easy to understand exactly what the issue was. Quite a number of people didn't put a snip in, so it made it kind of harder reading, going, what are they actually talking about? Which leg are they talking? Where is this? I'm confused. Some people put it in a sort of a different document with some annotated plans, and so all into that one snip of it, annotated, makes it beautifully easy. So remember to do that. The risk rating, and this is a very common thing for people new to road safety auditing. Everything is over risk rated, way too high with the risk ratings. Now, the way you can sort of think about this is to think, if they build this exactly the way they're planned, the issue that I'm talking about, if they build it exactly like that, over the next 5 years, how many people will be seriously injured at this location in that crash time, right? Now, a lot of you put sort of intolerable risk for one where the pedestrian crossing was removed, okay? And there's a bit of pedestrian design. Now, I think it's a great finding. You're thinking about, how are people actually going to use this road? What's their desire line? Where are they going? But people were putting frequent serious injuries or death. Now, if you go back to the Austroads guide and the frequency of that, you're basically talking about multiple serious injuries of pedestrians per year at that location. So in sort of 5 years, we'd have 10 serious injury pedestrian crashes at that crossing location because there's not a crossing there. Now, that would be just like so far out of context into what we see in pedestrian crashes in those sorts of areas, because people are, most people are pretty careful crossing the road, or they'll walk down the signals when they're crossing. Don't get me wrong, I think it's a great issue to find. It's there, but the risk rating was just way higher than really it should have been. So, that would be medium to high risk, maybe. But intolerable, as I think Max talked about and I talked about, intolerable is such a massive stick. I reckon I've only used it 5 times in my career of auditing for about 20 years. So yeah, anyway, I'll just leave it at that. I just think that trying to reverse think about death and serious injury will help. As you do more audits, you're out there with senior auditors, you read audit reports, you get a better calibration of your risk rating, and so that'll help. Also, if you do any black spot investigations, working with crash data, you'll see how many crashes occur out there on the network for different reasons, and you'll start to then get an idea of that. So that was one that there was a lot of people over risk rating. So when you do your next assignment, have a real sort of think about that. So the next one was the safe system energy. I was pretty happy with this. I was really quite excited by how many people were starting to get their head around that safe system energy. So you're thinking about your particular crash type that you were worried about, and then you were relating that back to those energies of crashes that we had come up with. So pedestrians, if it was above 30 kilometers an hour, the crash that you were worried about, it's above tolerable. Now, a number of people use the word intolerable in there. Now, that I can understand exactly why you did that. I've got the only issue is that intolerable is a risk rating, and the safe system energy, we don't want to confuse people into thinking that's the risk rating, because risk ratings are the chance of the crash and the severity, and the safe system energy is only the severity, right? So it's not the risk rating, it's the safe system energy. So we tend to say above tolerable or within tolerable limits, right? Just to make sure people don't confuse it with the risk. But yeah, people were looking at the crash type. Some people were even writing the crash type in there, which I thought was, at least for a training course, a really great thing to do. It proved, beyond any shadow of a doubt, that they knew what they were talking about, because they said the crash type I'm interested in is side impact. The threshold is 50 kilometers an hour. I think this is going to happen at about 60 kilometers an hour. Thus, it is above the tolerable limit. I was like, full marks, no worries. That is absolutely perfect. So that was pretty well done in general. The recommendations in terms of what people were thinking about were pretty good in general. I was pretty happy with the way people were trying to suggest a few ideas to people. The categorization of the recommendations was overwhelmingly the thing that most people had trouble with. So what is a primary recommendation? What is a supporting recommendation? Now, it is a little bit of a tricky thing to get your head around. So the first thing to know, and we stressed this a number of times in the content, but I'm going to say it again. This is not primary being like your number one recommendation and supporting being your second recommendation. No. Okay. You could legitimately, and you get full marks if it was all good, only put supporting treatments if you cannot see a primary treatment. Or you might have multiple primary treatments, because the primary categorization and the supporting categorization is in its alignment with safe system principles. Okay, so primary recommendations are, as we talked about in module 1, are alterations to the road environment that virtually eliminate crashes. And I gave you some tips, which are things like that. It was really going to have to get energies within tolerable levels. And it's not about the specific issue you're dealing with, it's the crash. And this is why I've got this blank screen. I'm going to give you an example here, and hopefully this will sort of clear it up. Okay, you've got you've got car parks here, right? And you've got vehicles coming through here, and you've got a vehicle coming out here, and their sight lines are blocked. Okay, their sight lines are blocked, and that's your issue. And you've written it up, however you've written it up. So great issue to find. Now, a lot of people then go, we'll remove that car park, we open up the sight lines, thus the issue is gone, and they want to call that a primary recommendation. That's not a primary recommendation, that's a supporting recommendation. The reason that's a supporting recommendation is because the person can still easily pull out. The speed of this vehicle is what it is. The crash angle is the same. We're relying on this person not making that mistake. Yes, they're less likely to make that mistake because they've got better vision. But we know plenty of intersections out there. There's thousands of intersections out there where there's been good sight lines, yet the driver's pulled out for one reason or another and been struck. So the primary recommendation on this would be something like a roundabout, okay, which slows this vehicle and improves the angles, a raised intersection, getting things within these tolerable levels. Closing the intersection would also do it, right? But the opening up those sight lines, while it directly removes that issue that you've identified, it's not a primary treatment because it's not virtually eliminating death and serious injury from that crash type. You'd still recommend it, absolutely. And it's a really great thing to recommend. And maybe that's your only recommendation, okay? You might just have one recommendation that is supporting. You don't need to have a primary. So that was probably one of the things that people are going to find, really struggling to get their head around. So I will pause to see if people have questions about that, because I need you to have that clear in your mind to do your audit, your actual audit. And some of you will be right in the thick of doing this at the moment, scratching your head. And probably some of you got the feedback from your 360-degree audit and were a bit sort of miffed and scratching your head as to why you were told that your primary treatment was a supporting treatment, or all your primary treatments were supporting treatments. So happy to have questions on that. And remember, you can raise your hand, we'll unmute you, and you can talk it through. How are we going there, Kathy?
Yeah, good. So a question from Chris. If you made a left turn out only, you eliminate the side crash but introduce a rear end, would that be classified as
primary or
sure.
supporting? Yeah, well, primary or supporting would be the question.
Yeah.
So what you're actually really thinking about is intersection crashes. So yes, I can see you're getting into the real fine points about side impact versus a sort of rear end. But if to make this a left out only, I would still have as a supporting treatment, unless here you created an acceleration lane which was somehow sort of physically separated, maybe with some flexible bollards or something, so that vehicles got up to speed, they had enough room to get up to speed and then merge in. So if crashes were to happen, the delta V, the change in energy, was within tolerable limits, right? Then I'm okay for that to be called a primary. But just making it left out, it would still be classified as supporting. What other ones we got there?
So we've got, it's a shame that Austroads doesn't simplify the terminology to say eliminate or reduce instead of primary and supporting.
That's very enlightened. I'm just trying to think. Yeah, virtually eliminate or reduce. Yeah. So Austroads got a bit tricky at one point, and then And then most of the jurisdictions scaled it back because they had these multiple categorizations of supporting. They had supporting step towards and supporting, and it was all a bit messy. So, but I agree. I mean, that's maybe not a bad way to think about it, at least at an entry level stage, is elimination, virtual elimination. There may still be crashes, remember though. Okay, so elimination would be elimination of death and serious injury. All right. So there'll still be crashes, but the energy will be within tolerable limits and reduce the chance of the crash, reduce the severity of it. But it's still we're still going to likely see some death and serious injury.
Is building a pedestrian overpass a primary treatment?
Yes, it's a primary treatment, but what you also have to do is consider, will it be used? But yes, that separation virtually eliminates. So if people all use it, yes. So you've just got to be aware though that the device in its own right is a primary treatment, and then you just need to contextualize that in the context of that environment to make sure it's actually being used.
Would speed reduction to say 40 kilometres an hour be primary, or due to people's behaviour, would this be considered supporting?
Yeah, so generally, now the key here will be whether, so a Declan there said speed reduction. So if it was speed limit reduction in its own right, it tends to be supporting because, you can put up signs willy-nilly. People still travel faster than that if the road environment is telling them to travel faster than that in their mind, or it gives them the easy ability to do that. So we tend to call it a supporting treatment. If you are actually able to get speed reduction, we're talking 85th percentile or operating speed reductions, and maybe that's through local area traffic management or other means, then that's a primary treatment. That would be side impact, right? Crashes. If you're talking about pedestrians and cyclists, then it's supporting because 40 is above the tolerable limits.
We're looking for examples between the difference between supporting and non. Ken, did you want me to bring up the safe system assessment framework that lists some examples in there?
Yeah, I think that's probably a good idea. So there is an Australian document. I kind of really want people to understand the principles of this rather than just trying to look for a list. But there is a list, and it will probably help people at this point because they're starting to get their head around it. So if you want to find that, Kathy, I'll just cover off a few more of these questions that are in here. Oh, there we go. Here it is. So Australian Safe System Assessment Framework has these tables. Now, if we haven't put this into Moodle, we will. It's not the topic of this course, but it links in, and it's the only sort of spot in Australians that really starts to list these, and it's referred to in the Australians Guide to Road Safety Part 6, which is road safety audits. It points you at this document as well. So you can see there, Kathy's got on screen, the crash type at the top. So the table 4.5 says runoff road crashes. Okay. Then it goes into primary treatments there. So we're seeing flexible barrier systems and the like. And then we've got supporting. Now, both the yellow and the orange there, that's all one, supporting. That's where I said they started to get too tricky, and they put supporting step towards as well. I mean, so you can see the whole list of them there. And then other considerations down the bottom there, they're things that are not infrastructure related. So speed enforcement, rest area provisions, and the like. Now, the thing that, keep going, Kathy. Yeah, because that was just runoff road. We'll see it now for head-on crashes, and we'll see it now for intersections, for example. And what do we got? Other crash types, so that would be rear end side swipes and the like, pedestrians, cyclists, and motorcyclists. But by no means are they all the treatments that fit into that, right? They're just some example ones, so people are sort of getting their head around. Now, the thing the other thing is there is non-safe system. Okay, that was in the thing. Non-safe system, though, is a category that's actually, it's really for terminology or actively making things harder in the future to achieve our primary safe system objectives. So, yeah, it's a really hard one to explain. You really wouldn't be making recommendations that are non-safe system. It's almost just for terminology purposes, but increasing speeds, you know, you might write it into your finding to say, you know, the speeds will increase. This is a non-safe system treatment. In fact, actually, the whole premise of what they're doing at that Montrose roundabout is non-safe system. The overall rip the roundabout out, replace with traffic signals, is going to increase death and serious injury under that design you saw. Like, there's no doubt about it. The 4-passenger vehicles. So I'd call that non-safe system, but you were then drilling into specific issues associated with it. And your recommendations were all, you know, either primary or supporting, which was good. What else have we got here?
I think if you just have a look at the question by Zohar, so merging left is supporting, so speed reduction for upcoming vehicle from behind will still be supporting.
So slightly confusing in the question there, because as I was saying, like, if it's a genuine merge, the left turn, like as in you provide them full acceleration lane and they merge in at speed, that's a primary treatment. And speed reduction for vehicles coming up from behind, well, again, that will be primary if you're getting within the tolerable limits for rear end crashes, which is really quite high, 70 kilometers an hour or so. What else have we got here? So what's Chris saying? I thought it was pretty clear with the definitions as it was written, but I think the term primary and supporting are a bit misleading. I would have thought yeah, eliminating or supporting treatment would be easier to understand for both RSAs and authorities receiving the RSA. Yeah, I tend to agree. I agree in the way it's played out. There were some sort of reasonings behind using the term primary, but yeah. David's saying, do we have to answer the safe system energy questions for each finding? My issue with this is that the tolerances all seem to be related to vehicle versus X crashes. Say if your RSA finding concerns pedestrian slip trip hazard, then it is difficult to apply safe system energies in that context. Great question there from David. Yeah, so you have been given a suite of human tolerance to physical force, speeds, crash types, right? But you have to do that for every one. So you have to make the determination of safe system energies around any crash type that you don't have that information. So yes, okay, a pedestrian trip hazard, okay? The fundamentals are that a pedestrian trip hazard is going to be within safe system tolerances, okay? Because a pedestrian would need to be traveling greater than 30 kilometers per hour, hitting that trip hazard for it to be outside tolerances. Now, pedestrians don't travel faster than 30 kilometers an hour. I mean, occasionally, like the world's fastest people are traveling at that speed, but no. So you can immediately say, okay, pedestrian striking pole, you know, walking into a pole or something like that, right? Sure, it's a decent road safety issue, and I mean, I'll pick that up. Say you have low mount signs in the pedestrian area. Okay, people are going to hit their head on it, right? That's a road safety issue. It is within tolerable limits, right? They're going to hit their head, they're going to hurt, it's going to get bruised, black eye, these sorts of things. Not good, we don't want it, right? But they're not going to likely be seriously injured or killed as a result of hitting their head on that, right? So it would be within tolerable limits. You might risk rate it high. If you say frequent and minor or whatever like that, or the like, it may still come out as a high risk, but it's within safe system tolerable energies. So hopefully that answers that. Was there anything else in there, Kathy?
I think we're good, Ken. It's 10:40, so I might be giving you the hurry up now.
All right. The content of this session is very brief, actually, so I can go through that very quickly. I think this is highly valuable time spent because I don't want to have to remark assignments. I want to mark it once and give people 100% and wish them a merry festive season. I don't want to have to say, right, you haven't got your head around the safe system energy, you haven't got your head around primary versus supporting, and I have to ask you to redo your, redo it and fix those things up. So I would prefer to spend the time now answering questions, making sure everybody's got their head around this. It's a good investment in my time over the next few weeks. So any other questions, please ask them now. Feel free to put your hand up. You can't be bothered typing. Okay.
You have to upload a photo of your site. So when you go out to site, yes, with a selfie. So some photos of your site when you go out to your site visit, and chuck a selfie in there as well. So we know you really did make it out there.
Just a selfie. We don't need site photos.
Oh, we don't?
No.
Okay.
Unless you're putting it into a finding, I'm okay with that. But we don't. You don't need to fill an appendix full of photos of the site.
You can do it in a group. So if you find that you have been assigned a site and a number of your colleagues or people who perhaps live nearby have also been assigned the same site, you can certainly do it as a group. It's a good way to do it. And what we just ask you to do is to make sure that you fill in everyone's name on the report so that we know to mark it and assign everyone with that mark. Taking you back to your uni days doing group work.
Yeah, well, that's right. Everybody has to submit one, and it has to have all of the people that were there, because if we get, it's like uni. If I get an assignment, an audit, and it just says that you did this, and I see someone else's and it says just they did that, and I go, these are the same. All right, I go, well, I mean, I'll probably logically say, well, they obviously did this together, but so you've still just got to write, here was the audit team. And
no night inspection. Is that right, Ken? No night inspection. No
night inspection for this exercise. Just when we did our little risk management, we just decided that occupational health and safety reasons and the like, we were not going to require you to do the nighttime inspection. You can prove you understand the audit process with just the daytime inspection and the like. As I say, the real audit, you're doing night times unless your client absolutely specifically says no nighttime and the like.
There's an interesting question that's come through from David saying there doesn't seem to be a lot of distinction between a safe system assessment and a road safety audit these days. Is there still a place and purpose for each? And do you think it would be simpler if they just merged them both into one type of assessment?
I think we're certainly getting closer. And their original, back in the day, they were very, very different things, and they started to merge together closer. I would still say there is quite a bit of distinction, not necessarily around the thinking in in them, but the presentation and the use of them. I mean, the scoring ability in a safe system assessment to differentiate safety advantage between different options, between the existing conditions and the design in a quantified way, that is, you know, that's very different to what you would ever do in a road safety audit. So that's one big one. The wider aspects of the safe system assessment that are available in terms of thinking more in depth about vehicles, vehicle safety features, the behavioural change interventions, the post-crash care, and those sorts of things, you know, give a much sort of wider, broader thinking about the safety of our community on the roads rather than specifically the infrastructure. So that's another different one. What else? I would say that a safe system assessment is generally a more broad brush, and the audit has the ability to delve into some pretty specific issues, which I think can be important at some stages. I mean, you can, within a safe system assessment, you'll see some issues that are important that do not change the safe system score whatsoever. Okay, but they are important. And it's just the broad brush nature of the assessment framework doesn't change that. So the audit is a better tool in that sense. But I mean, in general, David, I think you're along the right lines that we can start pulling these together more and more and try to make it a little bit easier. Most jurisdictions are very sort of thoughtful in their way that they go, well, if a safe system assessment's done in an early stage, the audit doesn't need to be done. So it's kind of like an early stage audit is the safe system assessment because it sort of covers the same stuff but more and wider and presents it differently. So that's nice to see, because you don't want to just add red tape to projects. Like, you don't want to be having multiple assessments that are viewing things in the same manner and providing similar outputs. All right. Well, that's good, Kathy. So how about I cover off a few slides, then we have a stretch and fill up our coffees, and I'll finish off the course. Okay, so let's share screen again. Diagram. Okay, so if you do think of any other questions, we do have some more time. We can have a chat about that. This module is really about understanding the different jurisdiction requirements for road safety audit accreditation or pre-qualification. Understand the process for registering as a road safety auditor, Victoria, South Australia. Where's my pen? Oh, that should be there. And Queensland. Identify some potential legal risks for road safety auditors and those procuring road safety audits. So those getting people to do audits on their projects and the like. So that's what we're going to jump into today. So I'm going to start about legal issues, and this little bit, we've got a disclaimer to say I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a legal, I don't provide legal advice, but what I'm going to do is give you some insights into different legal battles around road safety audits that I've been involved in, or have had some exposure to for one reason or another. And generally what we've put out there as advice in the Auscred's guides and some other documentation around possible legal issues. But of course, if you are delving into this, you should get your own legal advice, or your counsel or your consultancy should get its own legal advice. But some possible issues for auditors themselves. And you will hopefully very soon become a road safety auditor. So when we think about what are the potential legal implications. So the first one I've got there is client focused. Okay, and this is a general concern within the industry that's been around for a long time. Some people call it a soft audit or a client focused audit. But I'll give you a sort of hypothetical example. There's a new super hardware chain coming into Australia, like the biggest ever hardware chain, and they're creating all these massive warehouse hardware centers, and they're, of course, they're accessing onto the arterial and local road network, and they go through their planning permit process, and the planning permit process says, okay, we've got to come up with your design. It's got to be road safety audited, whether they're doing signals or roundabout entry or turn lanes or whatever it is. And they come along to you, and they found you as a registered road safety auditor, and they say, can you please undertake the road safety audit? Here's the design. It's part of the planning permit requirement. And they say to you, now, this is already over budget. They're angry at the road authority for forcing them to do this works. And so they say, we're happy to do signs and line changes and the like, but nothing else. Like, we cannot spend any more money on this. So if then you entertain and play into that space and do a soft audit, or maybe you do the audit, you hand it over, and they say, no, we can't afford any of these. Can you remove those items, please? We're happy with these too. And if you were to, reissue it with things removed like that, is termed the client-focused style audit. And I think it's pretty obvious to you there that, you are engaged as an independent advisor to put your independent concerns, and if they're being manipulated by the client, or you're actively providing them with a soft audit, you're going to potentially find yourself in trouble. Inadequate brief. This one doesn't often happen at the auditor's end too much, but if you're really provided inadequate information to undertake the audit, and you still go about, doing something in an audit, there's a little bit of risk there. Most of the time, if you don't have what you want, and you ask for it, and they say, well, we don't actually have that. We haven't done swept path diagrams or something like that. You still do your audit, and you just note, no swept path diagrams were provided, and you may decide to do your own. You don't have to do that. It's probably going above and beyond for an auditor, but you would sort of note your concerns and just say, swept path diagrams should be done, and that should be checked. So misleading your qualifications or experience, that goes across the board. There's not just road safety auditing. If you say you're a senior road safety auditor and you're not, or you say you've got 10 years highway design experience and you don't, you're putting yourself out. So not following the correct process, so not going to site, or not going out there during the daytime and nighttime if that's what was agreed and specified. And not following whatever quality management systems and processes you have in place. Then you're held to this thing called a reasonable assessment. And reasonable is this thing that plays out in court as a word, and which is the thing that really gets debated. So if you miss a very glaring issue, they really going to say, well, would it be reasonable for an auditor, a road safety auditor, to pick up that issue? And if you didn't, there might be some sort of issue there. Okay. Any questions there, Kat?
Yes, we've got, can I add accurate drawings, correct revision not available to auditors at the time of audit, drawings to this list? This has been experienced in some temporary traffic management scenarios.
Yeah, so if the, it's an interesting one. You audit what you're given, and then you'd certainly ask for it. Well, you sort of assume they're giving you the most updated plans. You might, in the conversations with them, question that, is this the most up-to-date one? If this one's, as we talked about in writing the audit report, you've got to be very clear of what you audited, which plan number it was and the like, just to ensure that it's not changed down the track. It sounds like there's some experience there of a different thing being actually implemented and those challenges. yeah, it's one to be aware of, both from the auditor side and the procurer of the audit. Any other comments on that?
Not at this stage, Ken.
Okay,
Oh,
well, let's look.
Sorry, just came through. Reason I say this is we've done pre-opening audits 3 quarters prior to 3 to 4 days. Okay, thank you. 3 to 4 days prior to opening the road, and the drawings get tweaked the last minute.
Yes, yep, and I've experienced similar, and in fact, I've been very frustrated sometimes to have audited, done an audit with a team of the site at different stages, and then you drive through it a year later or something like that, and they've built something completely different that has safety issues, and well, okay, that wasn't what we audited. Is your audit, as long as it's documented what you audited from a personal perspective, you'll be okay. You may, just out of good road safety practices, call the road authority that manages that and express your concern. But yeah, from that perspective of legal liability, you will be covered.
Interesting. How would a client deal with auditors that class everything as intolerable?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, they pretty quickly get discredited in the industry, and just don't get used. Now, it actually links in with Chris's question beforehand of this issue with cheapest getting the job the whole time. Now, Austroads has got some work underway at the moment in harmonising road safety audit, putting in competency requirements, and a few other things. VicRoads has just gone through or the Victorian Department of Transport has just gone through a process of culling the number of people on the list, or going through that process at the moment. The audit courses have more requirements, as you're seeing. You now have to do these assignments, get marked, pass the quizzes. So we've got some rigor in ensuring that we have competency benchmarks. And then it's like anything really out there, as Chris is saying. I mean, we want to get value for money across everything we do. And value for money comes in the form of, yes, cheap, but also the quality of the audit. And so you'll find certainly that people want well-written, easy to understand audits that are finding genuine issues and producing reasonable recommendations. And especially government are really wanting that. Most government are not seeing audit as a tick box exercise. Now, if anybody's seeing it as a tick box exercise, yes, then of course they're going to go for the absolute dirt cheapest, quickest thing that they can possibly find. And I do admit that developers are probably the worst at that, and this is all annoying, and they don't particularly want to do this, and they just find the cheapest thing they possibly can and just get it done. But the majority of audits are really done across clients that are genuine about trying to do the best they possibly can. And the value for money there comes out after, well, I mean, the first time they might take the cheapest auditor, but then they won't use that auditor again if they're not producing things of quality. And I mean, I know that we do audits, and we are certainly not the cheapest, that's for sure. But we've got plenty of audits, and so that's fine. And I'm sure a lot of you are in organisations that take pride in producing quality work, and it costs a little bit more than the mob down the road who do it for half the price and quarter of the quality, probably. There's just a little bit of an insight into consulting in general, I would say, not just in road safety audits.
Thanks for your thoughts there, Ken. That's all the questions for at this stage.
Yeah, cool. Okay, thank you. Client focus. So they're the order ones. So I'm now going to go to the road authority, the customer, whoever's procuring the order, could be the developer as well, intentionally holding back information in the brief. So critical bits of information for the auditor to be able to do their job. If you hold them, you should be handing them over. Requesting specific recommendations is a big no-no. And then when you get that audit report, dealing with each recommendation, accepting it, rejecting it, deferring it, I mean, they're all legitimate, right? But the key is to do something, not just get the audit report, tick, we've done the audit report, put that in the drawer, carry on. No, it's got to genuinely be considered in altering the project if need be. And some sort of means of prioritization. So this is really interesting. I think local government, to me, has some real risk, legal liability risks around road safety audit in there, in some of the random choices on which projects get road safety audits. And it's often just determined on the individual officer of council, whether they're somebody who has done audits or knows the audit process, and they'll get audits done, and then their colleague next to them or the like doing the same sort of project won't get a road safety audit. I mean, there should be some sort of council policy or position on which projects get audits and which don't. And then in terms of recommendations coming out of it, again, you may not be able to afford everything, and the courts are absolutely understanding of that. Like, they know that there is not infinite funds available, but what they're not, they don't accept no process for systematically working through risk management exercises. Audits are very helpful in that sense because you get a risk rating, so you know which ones really need to be addressed, don't you? And so you can sort of go about it in some sort of prioritization mechanism. And a reasonable process, again, just held to account for having reasonable internal processes and processes for undertaking audits and the like. That's probably all I've got for legal liability stuff, Kathy. Unless there's any questions, we might have a little stretch, just a 2-minute stretch and fill the water. If anybody has any specific questions, they can type them in or raise their hand, but let's have 2 minutes and then we'll finish off. Okay, let's have a chat now about the registration of road safety auditors across different jurisdictions in Australia and New Zealand. Now, this is a little bit of a mess across Australia and New Zealand with different systems, different registration and the like. And Austroads is sort of forging down the path to kind of harmonise all this. And it could be a while. It's been something that people have been asking for about 10 years. And progress is being made. But what we've done is put a sheet into your memory stick and on Moodle that summarises the requirements of each jurisdiction. And by jurisdiction, I mean, state or territory or country, as New Zealand is, we sort of call them sort of one jurisdiction. And you can see there the title being Senior Road Safety Auditor or Senior Road Safety Auditor. And you'll see that's pretty much the same across most jurisdictions. New South Wales likes to do a level 1, 2, and 3, just to keep things a little bit confusing. The sort of requirements on experience up here, which things that they want to see you've got experience in, the number of years they need you to have experience in those areas, one of those areas, the road safety audit experience required, and how to, what you need to do to maintain whatever status you've got. So let's just quickly start with Victoria. So to become a road safety auditor, an accredited road safety auditor with Victorian government, you need to not particularly have any professional experience. So you can be a graduate, be a student actually, but you need to be generally in the field of road design, traffic transport management, road safety engineering, or road user behavior. So it's a fairly easy entry level for road safety audit in Victoria in that sense. You don't need to have done any road safety audits, and to stay as a road safety auditor on the register, you don't need to do any audits. Now, the Victorian government's got a little e-learning module that they may require you to do different points, but generally it's the easiest one to sort of just get on, and most people do just jump onto that one, become an accredited road safety auditor, and then see if it's something that they get into heavily. To graduate though from road safety auditor status to senior status, you need to now have 5 years worth of professional experience in one of those categories. You need to have undertaken 5 audits, 3 of which are at design stage. So you can't just do all traffic management audits, or you can't do all existing conditions audits. So 3 of them have to be designed. And you have to do one or participate in 1 audit per year. So Queensland's very similar, slightly different on the specific categories they're interested in. They pop traffic engineering in there and a more general discussion, but you need 5 years experience to get on that list. And you need to have done an audit in the past. Now that's kind of hard if you're not an auditor to do an audit like that. One, if you can't be a sailor without going on a boat, and you can't go on a boat unless you're a sailor, like, whatever that old saying is. So really, this is where you can be an observer, be a part of the team, but not an official road safety auditor. So you join up and you're involved in it, and your name gets on there with some sort of qualification that you're not on the list at this stage. Then you've been involved. Then you can get onto the Queensland list. 5-year requirement still for senior, but also those 5 audits and 1 audit per year. South Australia is close to Victoria. They do have a road safety auditor list, but they don't seem to publish it. They just publish their senior list. They seem to keep the audit one internal. I've asked them about this before. They just said, oh yeah, we've got a list. We don't have that online. Which anyway, senior is very similar to Victoria, but slightly different categorization again. I talked you through those 3 in particular because they're the main 3 that are relevant from this course. And yeah, so the certificate you gain from this course is accepted in Victoria, Queensland, South Australia. New Zealand doesn't have a register, so they will just accept the certificate as enough proof that you know that you can, or that you know your stuff in terms of road safety audit. So applicable in Queensland. Tasmania uses basically Victoria's list. Northern Territory uses Queensland's. Northern Territory says we'll take anybody. We'll take anybody's and we'll take anything. As long as you're on somebody's list, that's fine. Got a certificate. ACT tends to use New South Wales list. And Western Australia, completely different on their own, doing their own thing in many ways. They've got their own sort of specific course. They have very extensive yearly requirements. It's a whole different kettle of fish over there. So senior road safety auditor and road safety auditor, it's not about age. You could swap these photos around, I suppose, but I think I've explained to you there. So this course, this is requirements. You get the certificate if you successfully complete it. And to graduate up, you need those 5 years experience and those 5 road safety audits. So Victoria, we use this website, vrsa.com.au. It's Victorian Road Safety Auditors.com.au. Okay. Now, I'll take you through this with some screenshots. I may jump over to my desktop shortly and just take you live to a couple of these sites. But let's have a look through this. So the first thing that happens when you go to vrsa.com.au is you see this screen and you click, you see a disclaimer, and the disclaimer says, hey, there's a big list of road safety auditors here and we can't guarantee any are any good. All we can guarantee is that they've met these requirements that we're putting out there. We're not saying we're not actively, reviewing them for specific competencies. So, make your own judgments. Agree and continue. So it looks like a VicRoads website. I actually set this up about 12 years ago off the VicRoads Victorian government grid because I was in government at the time, because I was so sick of the process you'd have to go through in order to get this up and running. It would have taken years, and so it took about a week, and it was up and running, and it's been running for 12 years. So I did get in some trouble for that, but anyway, all working nicely still. So you get in there and you see some different options. You're going to register as a road safety auditor for accreditation there. It's going to take you there. You're going to say if you're registering as a road safety auditor or a senior road safety auditor. I assume most of you are going to be going for the road safety auditor, unless you're doing this as a refresher course or something like that. And then you'll put in some information about yourself. Now, you'll see over this side, we put in there the ability for you to hide information from the public if you don't want people to know different aspects, your phone number and these sorts of things. That's all can be hidden, no worries. And so you fill all that information, upload a copy of your certificate, and hey presto, you'll hopefully go onto the list. And then you can, log back in as you go, upload copies of audit reports. You don't actually, of audits you've done, you don't actually upload the report, you upload information about it. So that's the RSA. And so that's also the page where people can come to find auditors. So publicly, they can view, they can click search for an auditor, and they can search by name, organisation, by required expertise. So take that with a grain of salt because it's self-judged, self-selected, and you can see there the different stages of audits that we talked about, and then a whole lot of different types. And you could filter by that if you wanted to see people who had, expertise in detailed design of intersections. You pick that one and see which auditors filter out. And then you get a big list, and that's what you see. So name, the organisation, email address, phone number, and status. So status is active, or there we go, pending. Pending would mean either that they've lapsed in their requirements, or they've uploaded something that needs to be checked, or they're just new to adding to the register and still hasn't been reviewed yet. But if you click on one, so I'm going to click on myself down here, and there we go, active senior road safety auditor, contact details are in there, and relevant professional experience. So this is what they're using to judge, did you meet those requirements? But it's also a way for people, if they're trying to choose an auditor, to see somebody who might have some experience that they think is relevant. So yeah, and as I said, you can hide all this. You don't need to show the public this information. There's the tick boxes on different audits of expertise. So I have done a lot of auditing in my time, so I have ticked a lot there. I do not profess to be at all have any expertise or in worksite traffic management plans. I've done handful of those audits with colleagues who are much more competent in that space. So I didn't tick those. Regions available to perform work. This is just a Victorian thing of regions, and if somebody only wanted to do audits in the east of the state, they would just put that. But most people can tick them all. And then this is all that people see in terms of what your past audits are. So see the location there. I haven't updated these slides for a long time. Location, what was your audit? You were the team leader. When did it happen? Who was the client? And what was the stage of the audit? Behind the scenes, there is more information about this that you've provided. And if somebody did want to audit the auditors at some stage, they would then talk to each of the clients that they wanted to and check and maybe get copies. Expertise, is that experience? Is the question that's come in there. Well, that's a great question. No, I think it's knowledge, experience, and a few other things. I think you can have done lots of them and not be an expert, and you can also, well, you probably do need to have quite a bit of experience in that one to gain expertise. I don't know, Kathy, what's the difference between expertise and experience?
It's a very good question, Ken, and thanks for flicking that one over to me. I don't know. I feel like they're very similar.
Yeah.
You need experience to develop expertise.
Yeah. I think there's more to expertise and experience. I don't know if anybody else has got any thoughts. I don't think this is just a question for road safety audit. I think that's in general. Where does experience turn to expertise? I'll keep going. We'll see if anybody comes up with something on that. That's probably something we could just Google, isn't it? Road safety course. So yeah, you're copying a certificate from a course, so you'll just upload a copy of the certificate. So vrsa.com.au is your go-to. That's probably the first place you're going to go. Now, the South Australian one, it's the old DIPTI website. It's now the DOT website, isn't it? The DIT website, Department of Infrastructure and Transport. Pre-qualification, and they just have a list of pre-qualified, and it's a bit more, they have a PDF, the DIT one. I might show you this live in a second. And you download a Word document, you fill out your Word document, you send it in, and then periodically they update their PDF. And the TMR one in Queensland is a sort of list, and again, they have a download form, a download Word document, fill in Word document, send it in, and then they pop you onto their list. I'll show you those live, I think. Now, just to do that. And Kathy, shortly we'll get to you onto jumping into Moodle and showing everybody how to get that certificate in order to be able to register on these different websites. Here we go. I'm going to share screen now. So hopefully you can see that, Kathy, maybe?
Yep, all good.
So this is the vrsa.com.au, agree and continue. This is all the stuff I showed you through. Search for auditors, and then you can see, the whole list is there, and there's a big list. And so, or you can search by these different things. Let's jump over to the DIT one, Department of Infrastructure and Transport. So this is in their pre-qualification for infrastructure and transport, and you scroll down right down to the bottom. Pre-qualification of road safety, safe system assessments and auditors, and restricted access vehicle route assessors. These are all three different registers. They're not all the same thing. So you've got to be aware of that. So you can see here, senior road safety auditor pre-qualification. So you've got your guidelines and the forms, application form, and then their register. You just click on it and you can see it just comes up as a PDF. And you can, try and get yourself onto that one as well if you want. I mean, they'll accept this certificate as well. And then the last one here is the Queensland Government Department of Transport and Main Roads. It's under the safety area, road safety audits, and you can see here that that's your application forms, list of current auditors, and you can see there's a list there, and then about halfway down, if I ever get to it, here we go, list of current senior road safety auditors. So there you go. Am I on this? And yeah, so they're the three. New South Wales has a, as I mentioned, slightly different system and some specific requirements. And yeah, so and Western Australia is very different as well. Any questions on that, Kathy?
No, just checking in. Some people have reported that they couldn't see what you were showing there. So just checking in if anyone else had that issue, or perhaps it was a one-off.
Sometimes it lags to get the people.
Okay. Maybe it was a lag issue.
Braden says it came through okay.
Yeah. Okay.
But if people have missed something or want a recap, it's in the slides in the video as well, and you can of course contact myself or Kathy or Max and we can happily point you at these things. Okay, over to you, Kathy. Tell us how to finish this course.
Yes, good. That's what we want to do in the next week or so. So I'll just show you the bit in Moodle. So you're in the road safety audit course there, and you've gone through, some people have already jumped in and done their module 6 quiz early, so well played. You need to complete your road safety audit site visit and submit your report in this section here. Make a submission. And then once you've done that, the very final thing for you to do is to complete a few short questions on feedback on the course. And once Ken has finished marking your assignments, so if you do get them in by next Friday, the 17th, we will make an almighty effort to get them marked before the end of the year, because we all want to leave a nice clean slate for next year. So get them in by next week, and we'll mark them before Christmas, and then you can download your certificate. So once you've passed the course and completed all your quizzes and assignments and everything's been marked satisfactorily, then you'll be able to download your certificate. We will send you your hard copy of your certificate and prizes in the post. They probably won't get there till the new year, I'd suspect. Thank you to Australia Post. But any questions on that?
Okay, looks pretty good. So yeah,
also popped in that safe system assessment framework we referred to earlier, just in here. Question.
So questions come in. Do we have to maintain our registration or first upload on the RSA? So no, once you've once you're registered and you're in as a road safety auditor, currently there's no maintenance requirements. It just sits there, right? Now they may contact you at some point with a requirement as they go through their processes, but currently you're sort of on there, and you're on there for eternity as a road safety auditor. Okay. If you graduate to senior status, then you have to continually upload, or at least one audit per year to show you're still in there doing audits.
Yeah, no, you need to complete the registration for the first time. So when I'll send out a final email to everybody, and I'll have the link to the VRSA website on there. And so then once you've got your copy of your electronic certificate, you can just use that to register through there. And if you have any dramas, just get in touch with us.
Yeah, no, that's a good point there, Kathy. Yeah, no, we will not. You are not a registered, accredited road safety auditor by getting the certificate. Oh well, unless you're in New Zealand, you can sort of there is no formalized system over there. But you have to do a couple more steps, which is go to those websites, upload the certificate, fill in the information, then you're registered. So you've done the requirements, you just haven't done that. I suppose it's a bit like becoming a registered engineer, or like you can have an engineering degree and I'm a registered engineer. Okay.
I guess just a last chance for any final questions at all, but big shout out to everyone for completing this course so close to the end of the year. I know it is very hectic, so thank you for all your participation and your terrific work on your assignments and everything. And yeah, if you've got any questions in the next week or so, please get in touch. Ken, Max, myself, anyone in the training team, we're all here to help. And yeah, I think that's about it. Ken, thank you for delivering another terrific course.
Thanks, Kathy. Yeah, and thank you to everybody. There's so much going on at people's workplaces and things. To take time out to do a course like this is a big effort, and we think it's wonderful that you've done that. And road safety is such an important aspect of the work we do. It's such a direct impact on community, and yeah, so I think it's really wonderful to do. I find it extremely rewarding to be working in this space. I think the fact that you now will very soon hold a certificate of successful completion for a road safety audit course, and hopefully become registered road safety auditor, it gives you even heightened responsibility for road safety. I think you're all passionate road safety advocates before this, but this is sort of now next level where we need to be out there pushing, challenging, ensuring that people are doing road safety audits on projects, and reporting things out there that are potentially going to cause death, serious injury to our community, and trying to weed them out. So thank you so much. You are more than welcome, and we encourage you to share your certificate online. If you're in the social media space, tell people that you've successfully completed this. And maybe when you're registered, say you're now registered to do road safety audits. We want lots of people doing them. We want lots of people to know that you can do them. We'd love you to mention Safe System Solutions so we can like and share your certificate and things to get more publicity of the fact that you're an auditor, but also try to get some others into the space of doing road safety audits and thinking about it. So you'll get your packs in the mail with a bit more information. We hope to see you at another course in the future. But please, keep in contact. Let us know how you go with your auditing. And thank you very much. Thanks, Kathy, and thanks to your team. And have a wonderful festive period, everybody.
Yes, thank you. Bye.
Bye.